Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Welcome back to Edessa. In this particular scene, after leaving a meeting with other canines and through his perspective, this disgruntled superior, Garland begins wading through the streets, trying to think, remembering familiar places that he saw a particular canine to hopefully gain more information about the disgruntled superior. As he goes wading through the crowds and streets, he goes back to the last area he remembers seeing Lady Madeline, and that was, I believe, was it the Merchants District? I think the last time I saw you.
I think it was the bazaar, right?
Yeah, the bazaar. Sorry, I guess I'd be.
I think so, but oh well. No biggie. So you're walking around the bazaar. Well, you'll probably walk around for a while, but then again, it is fairly close knit, shall we say? It's not that big and sprawling. But you will at some point find her with her, well, assistants in tow.
Seeing her, he'll begin to um, move closer to her and kind of call out a bit. Uh, my lady,
Ah, it is you once again. I hope you are not. I hope you are not intending on trying my patience constantly.
he does a slight bow since he's in public. He doesn't want to make it too ridiculous. I I'm sorry that I wish not to disturb you on this peaceful night, but I have questions since I am new and I wish to learn.
Of course, you have questions. I have shown you great leniency toward, well, thus far. She looks around. There are people, but it's night, and she will just motion to you to walk a little ways off, so they're nowhere near anyone. And she will just look at him and just say, "Well, you wish to learn, and I will gladly teach. Tell me, what do you wish?"
Yes, I appreciate this time, Lady Madeline. I had a meeting with some fellows, and he looks around. Though I feel like the subject may be a bit more private. Is there any place that you know of that we could?
Mhm. Well, I do believe that, hmm, well, depending on what you have to say, you can move into a more private location, but thus far, I don't think is in earshot here.
Well, the thing that I spoke about seemed to upset the member of your clan quite greatly. I was confused.
Madeline will just, she won't sigh, but she will just take a moment, look at you, fairly deadpan at you, and she will just say, "Might I ask who you spoke to?"
The hound, known as Ulrich, he seems to know of you. When I brought up your name, he was going to speak to you to speak to me about a matter. most likely the things that I've said. I have seemed to have insulted him on several marks.
Well, honestly, with your track record, that is not the most surprising thing I have heard.
And he sighs, and it doesn't sigh like, oh boy, like he understands why you say that, and it's more of a sigh of kind of disappointment. I won't deny.
But you can always redeem yourself by good works, of course.
He confuses me. I told him of the situation involving the black thing, and he got very upset. Nearly broke a table in two.
There is good reason for him to, well, become quite agitated whenever he speaks or is reminded of this person.
Quite. I do not wish to judge him on his frustration with the matter itself, but his response to my inquiry I felt was unneeded. As I told him, I was told by three of my betters, if we wish not to include you, to simply two of them to investigate the matter. And I was even told to find him, and he sees that as foolish, which at this point I find his words disapproving, as he then says that my primogen and the sheriff are foolish to ask me to investigate such a thing.
Well, considering how uh, what we are talking about, he might be right.
But even so, I feel that maybe that his decorum might have been a bit too harsh, but maybe I am not a high-ranking official in this city, and I am new here, so I don't understand the culture quite well.
Well, you know our tempers, all of our tempers, and when you're talked to about a person or a monster really that has killed people that you care about, your emotions will run quite high and quite powerful.
I see.
There is more than one reason that he is hunting her.
Then then I said something referring to a treatment of a neonate. He saw my words as insulting his honor.
Well, again, what did you say?
He placed his hand upon the neonate of the female persuasion. I was taught by my sire not to lay a hand on a woman unless she asks you to.
That depends on where and how you lay a hand on her. Would you say that a priest laying his hands on a woman's head to bless her is uncalled for?
But look, it's not a priest, is he?
No, but I merely say if he is just shaking her hand and she did not expect it, and would not say that that is a breach of etiquette.
No, I would not. But
So,
he
how did you touch her?
he placed her hand on her shoulder. I feel no, as far as the face is, and would say that he was being benign. I have an inkling that there might have been something slightly heavy-handed, but but I noticed that there was tension in the air, not by my words, but by the actions of others. But I wanted to focus on the task at hand.
Quite so. You should focus on the task at hand.
And he sees my lack of martial prowess as a disturbing thought for being a clan bourgeois. And
Well, if you come here as a warrior, you might have reason to be concerned.
which, as you know, my lady, I never stated such. I came here as a vanguard and emissary. Said, said I may have brought in more specifics to what I do for my sire to Ulrich, and he was disturbed by that. I guess see me as a threat. So, and I don't wish to bring lies and deception into our conversation, so I will tell you that I am a spy for my sire when times call for it.
Quite honest of you.
And I won't deny my skills of that nature because that is what I am good at.
Well, I will tell you one thing. Ulrich has suffered quite a lot recently.
Hmm.
Many of us, many in the city have. This is probably why quite a few people are on edge. There is also the war that rages for quite a few places in the world. Those two things. That's all the other things. Well, you do know of the dream, yes?
He spoke that as a title. I do not know the specifics, my lady.
Well, that should be your next. I've said something to you, but for the next time we meet, I want you to examine that. Ask around yourself. See if you can find someone who will talk to you about this, what it means. And then, when you have done so, you can ask yourself if this was so very important for Ulrich. Might there be even more reason for him to be so very annoyed and animated whenever he speaks of it?
I thank you for your gracious knowledge, my lady. I will do so.
Very well. He has quite quite tense, quite pressured at the moment for more than one reason.
Then I will make sure to incline myself to not give him any further disturbances. I thank you for this information to better proceed with him. I do not wish to be a harm to anybody in the city unless I am told to be.
There are many personal things for Ulrich, and I would advise you to be very careful when speaking of this. It is not your fault, but it soon will be your fault if you continue to pester him with it, or at least show ignorance in it. I do not believe he will stand for it, so I think to consider at least.
I will do my best. But I do not wish to show knowledge to my superiors where there is none. That is deception on a level that could be very catastrophic.
Oh, very much so. A very healthy attitude. Oh, you're investigating a very, very powerful person who is most definitely hostile to most people. Does that make you nervous? Or at the very least, more observant of your surroundings?
I will be with my task that I have been given by Sir Ulrich. My lady, have you heard about um, attacks throughout the city?
Are you thinking of something specific?
There have been killings, just mangled bodies, essangulated to a point, creatures that seem of lepers and things that may be winged.
Hmm.
Me and some other neonates have been asked to investigate it and hopefully capture these and interrogate them. I am like, ma'am, do you seem unaware of this?
Well, I have heard of it, but it is not my concern. My Primogen, my Prince, or my Seneschal have not asked me to provide assistance or work on it, so I will leave it under their care. They wish the best for the city, and I know that they use all their efforts to do the best for the city. If you do not want me to help with it, I will not interfere.
He nods. Do forgive me. Uh, well, if it's not your concern, then I won't make it your concern. But of course, if you feel
It
that,
might be, I mean, speculations. She almost whispers that these things and to draw attention from outside. We have had them before. I remember once, when last I was in the city, we had the visitors. Since the good people of the city had seen a little too much of devil's work, shall we say.
hmm,
That starts, then it's quite hard to get rid of. They are persistent. Holy men do not give up easily. Well, there is good reason for being vigilant and solve such problems rather quick. I must say at the moment that my attention is elsewhere.
yes, my lady, do please, if you feel that anything that might be if that might help in my investigation, though I don't have any type of well, and he thinks about it for a second. There is some places where associates that I deal with in the city, you could place signs and markers, and they'll make sure to give it to me as quickly as possible. But only at your leisure, of course. I have no right to order you around.
Signs and markers?
I was raised after I was raised for a large portion of time in the ways of the cant and thievery. So there are certain places and certain signs that my kind recognize.
Ah, 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 very well. I believe I can get into contact with you if the need should arise.
And I think I should tell you this, since Ulrich did not give me a chance to bring it up, or I did not make it more apparent to him. Since I've been in the city, I've been followed by two different entities. One seems to be a pack of men in armor, though I could not get a better image of them. But I will say this, I did recognize another figure that followed me. It was a woman in black and gold trims.
Since when?
It's since I spoke to the sheriff not too long ago.
I would advise you to be so very careful. Prince Kenneth is the safety, but you well know there are many things in the night. I hope you understand that we are not alone in the sense that things that are not ordinary are not limited to ourselves.
So,
Or the fact that there are so very many kindred who are Jesus Canaanite, of course, sorry about that. So many Canaanites who are not, what shall we say, within the laws, the order of the prince, and believe that they can go their own way, do whatever they want. It's not the case. I thank you for bringing this to my attention. But can you tell me more specifically about the two followers or
I'm sorry, but that is the most detailed information I can tell you at the time, my lady.
armored men?
There seemed to be several, and there may have been a hound with them. A literal hound, my lady. But they,
And when were you followed by them?
after I met with Azir, but it was merely a glimpse. They were quick. I'm curious if they were following my presence since I've been in the city. They were hard to pinpoint when I finally recognized that I was being followed.
Hmm. I'm sorry.
The woman, on the other hand, I had a much better inkling. As I said, I was able to give a description of her. The men, I can only those scattered remnants. So the woman was in black, gold trims. She seemed to be young, blonde hair, I think,
Hmm.
and fair skinned. So obviously not one that comes from this area. If not, if she were possibly, she'd be very an odd occurrence.
Remember not to, but since you are new to the city, remember that there is one person in the city that is strange, but not unexplained and not, well, unaccounted for. I don't know if he's still around, but do not be panicked if you are ever seen in near. If you ever see a person who is seemingly smeared in blood, a man tall, somewhat muscular, without a thread on his body, completely naked, well, do not be alarmed. That is an old resident of the city. He is called the Red Man. He is, well, standoffish. Who knows? It might be him, just in another form. He's very skilled in hiding.
I will be most prudent around this being, and I would hope to agree that it might be wise simply to avoid him entirely.
You might not always be able to. Sometimes he will stand in your face and talk to you, but oh well.
Hmm.
Although I haven't seen him since I have been back. Who knows? He might not be here anymore. He is of Clan Malka, child of Malka, so he is a little hard to communicate with sometimes, but believe it or not, I believe he is a good person in a quite strange and perhaps twisted way. But that is my assessment of this person. Take it for what it is. My assessment. Out of character. Evan, if you want to jump in, you can do so.
I'm, I'm
Oh, what?
uh, I just started this.
I really can't understand what you're saying.
Basically, hello.
Okay.
That's a little better.
Uh,
Mm.
Is it just me, or is
Nah, he's kind of coming in and out.
yeah? It's really hard to. Well, how do you find the city so far? Good.
To be honest, my lady, the years that I have been under my sire, I have not actually directly involved myself in Canite society. I mainly kept to the stations that he owned himself and did tasks for him. So seeing all of these different children of Cain and dealing with the political matters of this place is unfortunately a bit daunting to me. But I do not do not see this as widening your excuse. I will rise to the occasion as is expected to me as a as a child of my sire and of Clan Bourgeois.
Hmm. It is daunting to most, but it is only when we are challenged. It is only when we feel pressure, or quite hard terms, when we are on the most fear of breaking, that we learn the most, that we temper ourselves to be the best we can be.
And Garland would nod to that, as I much agree. The sword is only truly tested until it is actually used.
Quite so.
I and his face, and it may seem a little odd to you, but it definitely makes him look a little, I guess, maybe smaller or younger than he does typically. Um, I really do appreciate the wisdom that you brought to me, especially not being one of my clan. I had always the feeling that there's a bit of bias, as expected.
I tell the truth as much as I can. Of course, it is not always possible for me. No, you know, as you said, politics are politics. But if you are willing, I would be happy to teach you more. But simply cannot tell you what you need to know. You will have to earn it, of course.
And he straightens up a bit, and he has a set a small smile on his face. I'd very much appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm sure you will. Think on it. I have a place that we might convene in. I can teach you quite a few things, but all in due time.
Yes, my lady. I must say, it would be only proper that I give you some type of service in exchange for this knowledge and graciousness from you.
Quite, quite a valiant thing. I thank you.
It is only proper. But I am, and he says it in somewhat of a small tone. I have gotten the attention of a few mortals in a Toreador 1 and 2 with my skills with my hands. I do, best way to put it, paintings and blueprints for architecture and caricatures as well. Though these are minor things to employ such a person of your stature, I do hope that they could please you.
She kind of steps back a little and shoots you actually a smile, and she just says, "Are you saying that you want to paint or sculpture something of me?"
And he goes, "Oh, no, I am if you want me to, but I know of the Lasamba's condition. I would not wish to insult you in doing such a manner. I, d- I don't know how sensitive you are to that subject. Do forgive me for bringing that up."
Well, it's an interesting proposition. It has been, I cannot say that I remember exactly how I look, but, well, it does not concern me too much. Not anymore. I do believe that there is another way we can help each other.
Yeah. Yes, my lady. Oh, whatever my skills can be in service of you for your graciousness, it would be much, even much too light for what you've done for me.
Do not worry. We will find out soon enough. The
Yes, my
thing
lady.
is, well, it is, I have a quite specific way of teaching, but what I teach is very, very valuable. It's quite potent, it's quite effective if you can listen through my methods. If you are willing, I will offer you much.
And his ears actually visibly, like, slightly twitch because he feels like he recognizes your terminology. You teach through, let's not necessarily literal, but fire to make sure your point gets across.
No, I I do not like open fires. And she smiles at you. Well, in a way, on certain things, depending, of course, on what you wish to learn. If you must learn of the beast, you must learn. You must learn to hear it. So the moment you will see or hear, feel the beast and honest is when you have not fed. So I asked people. I have done so with my own child. I forbade him from eating for quite some time. When he is close to starvation, that is when he feels the beast, and that is when he is truly challenged. If you wish to understand your new form, I would test that form only when it is in duress. Well, it is then when you truly understand it. It's truly then when you can push yourself to the utmost limit, when you are at the verge of really becoming seriously damaged yourself, that you will improve. If you wish to learn of the power of our blood, well, you must either feel it on yourself or inflict it upon others to understand. I hope this makes sense to you.
He nods, but like when you bring up the former part of the conversation, it's very like you see him slightly twitch and shiver a bit, especially bring up the beast. Though when you bring up the latter part of the conversation, he seems to relax a bit more. I, in my spare time, actually a good amount of my spare time, employ the powers of the blood. I helps me with my task, and I wish to better understand it.
That can be arranged.
So,
Tell me, child, I understand if you do not wish to elaborate on this, but what road do you follow? You can refuse to answer, it is quite fine. I know it is a quite personal question.
yeah. And he straightens up a bit. I, though some would say that as a disposing of weakness, I am proud of the road that my sire has put me on, and he has taught me many ways to understand it, and I recognize it. I follow the road of kings, the aspect of the visor.
Very well. She just nods and then just says, a respectable road with its own challenges. I can work with you. She looks at you for a moment and just says, so, do you wish to start? Or
Oh.
do you have other engagements that require your attentions?
And he just kind of blinks. It's like, I am surprised you wish to start lessons so soon. But I my investigation will involve other Canaanites, and we'll be discussing our method of engagement. So tonight, I am pretty much open for anything that you wish to teach me.
Very well. Please, come with me. And Madeline will lead you, walk with you as you begin to walk off. You will make your way to yeah, more private place this time. This is clearly a place that she has. It's connected to her in some way. And as you get into bodyguards, do not follow. Um, they just They stand outside. If Madeline gets in, she'll just say, "All right. So specifically, let me hear what is it that you wish to learn more of?"
Hmm, let's see. Hmm. Well, for me, at least, I have figured out more creative ways to use potence as I feel my contemporaries do not.
Hmm. Potence. You already know this power, this application of the blood. We share it, you know.
Yes, my lady, that's why I wish to bring it up. I feel that it'd be best to start at common ground.
Well, on common ground, in what sense? I must admit I am a bit confused. We
Uh,
both know it. A man like yourself, it is, I believe it is limited what I might be able to tell you or teach you on this. There are other things I might be able to teach you.
I and he he says, I wish to start with potence since every clan, regardless of what disciplines that they may share, have their own ways of employing it. So I know that from in comparison from a Bruja to a La Sombra to an Nosferatu, the idea of using the art is going to be vastly different. Even the ability as simply as potence.
Quite so. And trust me, it would require quite a bit of. Well, there are things I can learn you, but there are also things that the way I would employ this discipline is a not a thing I can easily tell you or show you. It would take quite a long time to teach you. Besides, I would be severely punished, rightfully so, by my clan if I taught you.
He goes, yes, I understand. Eh? And then I guess best not to focus on maybe things of this nature,
Well,
and maybe we should speak about more plain things. Lady Madeline, what exactly are your, I guess, the things that you focus on in your life at this moment? Maybe I can hopefully use your knowledge of that to better myself in Edessa.
seeing that which is out of sight, smiling, smiling in a way that makes people less afraid, more lenient towards me. It is easy when you look as I do, of course, but I do not believe it is limited by. I have seen very many, not many, but I have seen a couple of mortal men, not more than 10 dinars to their name, looking like they have been beaten regularly for the last 10 years. Their faces quite distasteful. Still, they were able to coerce many people around them. That's not necessarily anything to do with, well, one's looks, although it helps. That's one some of the things I do. I do quite a few things with, well, of my clan. You have heard of Tenebration, yes?
Yes, it's a very interesting ability, but I wouldn't think it'd be pertinent for me to know much about those techniques, as those are.
Exactly. This is what I meant when I said the improvement of my potence would be in combination with this very unique ability.
I see.
Tell me, have you heard of Dominant, Dominion,
Yes,
or whatever it's called in different places? It's not different names. It is quite a different type of ability. This is something I would be able to teach you if you show the abilities for it.
it's the power to force things into your bidding on a level that is beyond the typical less visage of using charisma or intimidation is very enticing that it is, but I think I should better master my own clan's abilities before I start branching off to things that require a bit more aptitude, or at least not aptitude. Let's say more experience. I haven't been in this world for as long as surely you have.
Well, that is perhaps true. And, well, she pauses for a second. Well, it is true to focus on some things first. Honestly, I did not do so myself. Not, well, I branched out in my youth, and I still do. The worst thing I could think of, honestly, is for one's mind to grow dull and the will to learn new things diminished.
Hmm. I do agree that stagnation leads and is a poison that many people will overlook. But I do also believe a quality over quantity. I am merely I'm merely I'm near I am nearly a newborn child in comparison to probably many of the people in Edessa.
Very well.
Though I know a person of your stature could better teach me etiquette involving the kindred society. My sire has taught me the basics, but
That I can.
he is very laissez-faire in our conversations.
Do you know what is the most important thing?
I always try to go with the idea when feeling threatened is showing submission.
I suppose your road would say so. Well, in etiquette, one of the important things, not necessarily in your position, but when there is no need for you to be polite, or being polite is fine, if you do that extra little politeness, not necessarily submissiveness, but just politeness, and it is somewhat earnest. It does wonders. But I do believe that for you, your kind, it is the most important thing is to know what rattles the cages of your beast the most. Trust me, I know from experience. When topics come up that are provocative to one's beast, it is much easier to find an excuse and then make your way somewhere else, if only for 10 minutes or for a little while to avoid letting it loose, especially with your blood. Well, that could be a very good thing.
I have done my best. I have tried myself with muscle iron to better keep that thing under control. Through his teachings and through my road, I have done great deals of keeping it under control, except for possibly today. Well, let's not say necessarily today, as the beast has came out, but more of my presentation with Ulrich. I should have probably contained myself better.
Well, we all must learn. And it sounded like it is, if anything, a good learning experience that you have just had, given that there was such a reaction.
I thank you, Lady Madeline. But and he kind of looks over to the sky. I do wish to continue these lessons at a later date. I think I should try to find um, Wilhelm to see if he has any further information about what Ulrich has taught us. Though he may
Very
be
well.
busy.
Until next time, remember, find out about as much as you can about the dream and what it means. It will make you understand some things about Ulrich's temperament these days.
Yes, my lady.
Very good. Please. And she will go get up and open the door for you.
And he looks at her with a bit of confusion. He's like, "You are too kind."
Thank you. And she will lead you out.
And he walks out, and he, as he leaves the door, he turns to her, um, and he kind of says slightly bows, and he'll and he'll just say, "Good evening, my lady. I will hopefully cross paths with you on another pleasant encounter."
I very much hope so. Good evening.
And he will leave into the city streets. And with that, thank you players for playing. Thank you watchers for watching. Have a good morning, evening, or night.